starts pleading with me that she didn't have you-know-what with a guy, that she just serviced him because she felt bad that he brought her drinks and didn't want to lead him on. Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go over them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, going to go over a story titled, Should I Ask for a Paternity Test? Feeling Insecure as F. And a big shout out to Daniel for sending me this story. And guys, this story is about a guy. He's 24, and his wife is 22. They've been married for 2 years now. So they got married at 22 and 20. Stupidest thing ever. A long story short, he is kicking her to the curb after he found out that she was cheating on him on a, wait for it, girls' weekend. But the problem is, he can't just walk away so easily because she's pregnant. But as you can imagine, he's obviously doesn't know, and he's questioning, is that child even his, given her actions? And this story definitely will have an interesting ending and twist. I thought it'd be a very good one to cover, guys, showing you, once again, the whole girls' trip, girls' weekend thing, the type of things that happen. What happens, you always need to pay attention to who your girl hangs out with. In this story, you're going to see that her friends are definitely carousel riders. You need to understand you cannot, if you're going to get married in the 2020s, you need to get to know your girl for years and be, honestly, in my opinion, probably close to 30 years old before you even consider doing that. Have yourself established, money, and really get to know your girl. In this situation, the guy didn't pay attention to any of that stuff because he didn't know, and how much came to bite him in the ass. However, he will handle this right, and it's definitely interesting to go over. So it starts off, he says here, my wife and I have been married for 2 years, and currently she is about 6 months pregnant. I'm 24 years old, and she is 22. Smack! Why the hell did you marry her so young? You out of your damn mind? Around the time she got pregnant, she went to a trip to Miami with 2 of her girlfriends, both single. Yeah, Miami tends to have a reputation for a lot of girls misbehaving. I wasn't fully comfortable with her going at the time, but I didn't want to come off as a controlling husband. Who cares? Even if she labels you as controlling or insecure, you gotta lay down the law. No girls trips. You're married to me now. You're 6 months pregnant. Why are you going to Florida to shake your ass on the beach with your big ass belly hanging out with my child in there? Our family should come first, not you hanging out with your SLUTTY friends. Ever since she came back, I've been feeling insecure as FUCK. Now that we're having a kid on the way, my insecurity is only getting worse. Recently, I've been watching the Mari show. Oh, God. And the idea got in my head that the son's wife, he might not be his. So I asked for should I ask for a paternity test? Will it ruin the relationship? I can't keep going on knowing exactly what she did in Miami. So there's obviously more stuff going on here that he's not mentioning, and why he's very suspicious of her, right? And that says a lot about her, if indeed she had something going on while she was 6 months pregnant. But the fact that something's up, well, you're going to see. It says, what people hear and my good friend has told me is that if I sign the birth certificate, it's really hard to remove my name even if I'm not the father. The main problem is that the whole family is going to be right here in a month, so if we do talk about the paternity test, it'd be best to do it before they all come. Well, that'll bring a lot of drama, but the child may be too along for the test. I don't know. Or you may have to wait until the child's born. I don't know. He says, number 1, my wife's friends are all really SLUTTY, which is what made me uncomfortable and insecure. Pay attention to who your girl hangs out with. On top of that, I told her not to get wasted when she went down there. First night that she called me wasted. His wife, 22 years old, a child, let's be honest here, in today's world, that's not much further than being preschool by the way they behave, is 6 months pregnant. And not only is she having a drink, but getting wasted with your child. Talk about a piece of garbage. In my opinion, that's grounds for divorce right then and there. Number 2, to the people that say, what if it was your kid? Seriously, I'm not going to be some cuckold loser. Number 3, women can guarantee their maternity, yet men can't be sure. So please, if you're a woman commenting on this thread, please keep that in mind. Number 4, I know I'm insecure. I don't know who wouldn't be in my situation. I wish I wasn't as insecure. I went against my own inhibitions and told my wife I didn't mind her going to Florida. I try to make myself better, but I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. You can't control what you did, but you can control what you do in the present and the future. And I get it. He was trying to be, I don't want to come off as that insecure guy, so go ahead, honey, go have a good time with your girlfriends, even though they're a bunch of WHORES, amongst many other things. Look what happened. He goes on, he says, to those saying my wife did nothing wrong, yeah, she didn't. But in all fairness, going to Miami with her single friends is not appropriate for a married woman. I agree with that, especially a 6-month pregnant married woman. If she wanted to remain single, she shouldn't have got married. When my single friends invite me to go clubbing with them or bar hopping late in the night, I refused because I'm considered my wife. I'm going to talk to my wife about my feelings, and I will post an update in 2 to 3 days. Thank you for all those that responded. So how do you think this is going to go with him talking to his wife? You think she'll be more than happy to admit if any wrongdoings were done? Do you think she'll just casually mention, okay, yeah, I did this? Fat chance. He says here, I stated in the title, I'm feeling insecure as F-U-C-K, more than aware that I'm insecure, my feelings aren't rational. Don't understand why people are being so nasty in the comment section, though. For what I'm reading, I'm guessing that 90% of you guys have not been in a relationship, because I don't know who has this fantasy 100% trust. I love my wife and know I don't want to break up with her, but my subconscious has been right before. In other words, trusting his gut has served him well. Well, let's see, guys, as we get, because he was doing, these were little minor updates, because he was responding to people in the comment section. But now we're getting on to the main story here as to what he finds out. He says, I talked to a friend of mine who is good friends with one of my wife's single friends and voiced to him my concerns. He said he's more than willing to help me figure out exactly what happened in Miami, so he offered to talk to my wife's single friend. After about 30 minutes, he calls me back and told me that supposedly they went to a big house party and the next day went clubbing with the guys they met at the house party. Ah, shocker. So much for a girls' weekend of laying on the beach and going shopping in Miami and leaving it at that. I asked my friend for details on what exactly my wife did, but he said that my wife's friend was very vague when it came to specifics. Well, of course she was. He says, I muster up all the courage I have and I confront my wife about what happened in Miami. She said, and this is her words, oh, we just went to a small get-together and then went to the beach. I looked her dead in the eye and said, so you guys didn't do any partying in Miami. She then amends her statement and says she went to a party with her friends the first day and that her friends brought 2 guys to their hotel room, but I didn't do anything. I asked her, what exactly did she do? And she said, oh, I didn't sleep in the bed while they were doing anything. I just watched TV. So you're supposed to believe that her friends went to a house party, met up with some dude, brought him back to the hotel room, and while they're getting it on in the bed, because it's probably a hotel room with 2 beds, and both their friends are doing it, she's sitting on the couch watching freaking reruns of The Big Bang Theory. That's what's going on here. Sure. I just stared deep into her eyes and said, oh, so while they were messing around and you were drunk, you were just watching television. It became obvious that she was lying, and it wasn't too long before she says, look, such and such are SLUTTY ones, and I didn't do anything. I tell her, oh, it's just that I got the phone off with such and such, and she said you did a bit more than watch television. All of a sudden, she starts crying hysterically. Well, if she didn't do anything and she was watching TV, why is she crying hysterically? Imagine that. She starts pleading with me that she didn't have sex with a guy, that she just blew him because she felt bad that he bought her drinks, and she didn't want to just lead him on. Oh, okay. She felt bad because he brought them drinks, didn't want to lead him on, so she sucked his you-know-what. Okay. Well, right now, I guarantee there's a line of guys getting ready to bring her drinks to get some loving. So what would have happened if this same guy brought her some appetizers? She'd lick his ass? You gotta be shitting me. It's like in Clerks when Dante found out his girlfriend had sucked 36 or 37 you-know-what, and he's like, why'd you just sleep with him like any decent person? Why'd you have to suck their you-know-whats? Right here. We're done. Divorce. Get your smelly dick breath away from me, lady. I tell her that's perfectly fine and she doesn't have to lead him on anymore because she is newly single. Good for you, brother. She starts mentioning our son and that I'd be a terrible father if I left him for something so small. Something so small? Oh, okay. If the situation was reversed and he was out with his bros in a weekend in Vegas and brought some girls back to the room, but didn't sleep with the girl, but went down on her and had hot girl's hoo-ha in his face, she would have a problem with it and say it's a small, minor event, no big deal? Sure. I didn't respond to her cries. I get my car keys and I go out for a drive. I returned home about an hour ago. I think my wife head off to spend the night with her friend's house. I've called my parents and told them what happened, and they said they want me to come over and check up on me. I've also gotten a call from my mother-in-law reiterating that our son needs a father and that people make mistakes. That is not a mistake. Okay? No. Having another dude's you-know-what in your mouth because he brought you some drinks and you felt bad, and that's the story. No. And I guarantee you it wasn't just this dude's you-know-what in her mouth. She's pregnant, 6 months. And that dude is sticking his you-know-what in her, poking at his son's house down there. And, it's a mistake? Nice family here. She cheats on him 6 months pregnant. She's getting wasted 6 months pregnant. His mother-in-law is yelling at him, saying he should get back with her because it was just a mistake. What do you think the father-in-law is going to do? Well, you'll see. My dad said that he can recommend me a good lawyer to help me with the divorce and paternity issues. As for now, I'm not sure how I'm ever going to get into a serious relationship with another girl. My trust issues and insecurity are about through the roof right now. Nobody can blame him. And by the way, as it turns out, his concerns about her on this girls' trip were proven accurate. How about that? After talking to my mom and dad, I feel much better. But I'm still pretty lonely. Thank you guys for listening to my story. It feels really good getting this off my chest. If you guys have any advice for me, as of now, please share. Thanks. Really makes guys feel better to tell their stories. Get off their chest, hear advice. Now there's a little edit here. Now we're going to have another update. He says as an edit, he says, what really hurt was that she never blew me because she said that if she did that, I would lose respect for her. And then she blows another dude because he bought her drinks. If she is happily pleasuring another dude with her mouth, but not her husband, what does it say? It says that her husband here is the nice guy she settled for, and the nice guys that get settled for never get the extra good stuff. Doesn't work that way. Feels bad. Feels bad. On top of that, I come to find out that she's spending the night with one of her guy friends' house. She's at a guy friend's house right now. After I ignored calls from her cell phone, she came through his landline. Another thing, I really hope I'm not the father of this child. I can't imagine having to deal with her every time I go to pick up or drop him off. Now is the next update. It says here, here's the update. First of all, I want to thank you all, and I'm in a much better mood and place. On Monday, I went with my father to talk to my lawyer. He told me he's getting the paperwork underway, and he wants me to keep things as civil as I possibly can with my wife. Good luck with that. But listen to your lawyer. I asked him about the paternity situation. He told me my wife is too late in her pregnancy for her prenatal testing. Paternity testing will have to be done after the baby is born. Therefore, not to sign any papers specifying that I'm the father. You all heard that. Don't sign any papers until you know. But this sucks. He has to wait all these months to find out. Meanwhile, he wants to divorce her ass. On top of that, he told me to be wary of being viewed as a fatherly figure, because even if it is not my child, I can still be charged for child support if I'm viewed as the father. Very good tip. That means don't go to the doctor's appointments and things like that. I came home, I told my ex-wife that I'd spoken to my lawyer and that she should do the same. She started crying and telling me how we should go to counseling and save our marriage. Bullshit. What, had the marriage counselor pretty much tell him that he should just ignore it and do it for the good of the child? Bullshit. I refused her offer, and I also told her that I will not be present during the birth of our child. She started crying frantically and said, "This is your child, I'm 100% sure. If I cared for your son, I'd be there." I told her goodbye, and then 15 minutes later, I got an angry phone call from her dad saying that when we got married, we agreed to stick with each other through thick and thin. Oh yeah, father-in-law? Well, if your wife was sucking some dudes, you know what, because he brought her drinks, you might be feeling differently. Personally, I think her mom and dad don't want her to move back home with them and then having to deal with her and raise a screaming kid. That's probably what's going on here. I told him politely that I would, but this is a legal matter. He then called me a very insulting word to call a gay dude, and I would make a shitty father. Yeah, this guy really wants to get back with this family, huh? So far, that's all that happened legally. Personally, for me, things have gotten much better. It seems that a lot of my friends and family have been trying to get me laid since I have called it quits with my wife. I'm sure they mean well, but this is no time for him to go hooking up with other girls when he doesn't know if he's going to be a father yet, if this indeed is his child, and he's going through the divorce. Okay, he doesn't need this bullshit right now. Unfortunately, he's 22 and he's going to behave like the 22-year-old. My sister's taken me to parties with her and her friends. I haven't been with anyone since the breakup, but I've gotten a lot of phone numbers, and just the overall female attention I've been receiving has been making me feel great. Well, okay, if it makes him feel better and to realize there's other options out there, okay, fine. But he should keep his snake in his cage as long as possible and not do something stupid. My mom, on the other hand, has invited over her friend's daughter, a girl in medical school, to introduce me to her. She was really nice and sweet. I didn't expect a girl with such a bright future to have any interest in a guy with so much baggage as me. Girls like guys with baggage because then they can fix them. But to my surprise, she's been nothing but comforting and caring. She recently left for medical school, but we are still keeping contact. Fine, keep contact, all that, but you don't need to have any girls in your life right now. Get through this shit. Get through the divorce. Find out if this child is yours or not, and hope the hell that it isn't. That'd be a nice blessing that he finds out this child wasn't his. And move on. Then, down the road, perhaps. As for me, I still have a hard time going to sleep every night. It seems that I'm happy through the day, and then at night, everything just hits me. I start worrying about the future, imagining my wife with another guy, start recalling the pain when I found out she cheated on me. This hasn't really gotten any better, but I still managed to find a way to fall asleep somehow. Every time I get a text from my wife, it's like cold touching my heart. Just the simple, "Good night, I miss you," is enough to make my heart go into spirals. So it's understandable that he's emotional roller coaster and all that, and probably worrying, am I ever going to get anybody as good as her, even though she's a piece of garbage, that type of thing. You're not going to switch it off like that. Most guys can't do that. Some guys can, as you guys heard in the stories, but most guys can't. So it's understandable. But it's in those moments when he needs somebody in his life, like his dad or his bros, that have his back saying, don't go back to her. Don't slip. I managed to stay strong past this. I'm waiting for my wife and her lawyers to sign the paper. After talking to my lawyer, it will take approximately 10 weeks or so from them to finalize the divorce. Thank you guys for sticking by me thus far. The emotional stuff I've included at the end. I don't have anyone to talk to. Just writing all my thoughts down makes me feel much better. I'll post an update when something important rolls around. So now we're on to the final update here, and it's definitely one I didn't see coming. Let's see if you guys can guess what's going to happen. It says here, my wife and I have been separated about 6 weeks now. In 5 more weeks, the divorce will be granted by the state. During that time period, I still joined her and her family for checkups following the pregnancy. Isn't that what the lawyer advised him not to do? Wouldn't that then be seen as him as the fatherly role here by him going to do checkups and all that stuff like that? Listen to your lawyer, guys. About a week ago, wife was having some abdominal pains and bleeding. She went to go to the hospital. The doctors found that they couldn't detect a heartbeat in the baby. Well, maybe they couldn't detect a heartbeat in her. They checked with an ultrasound, and there was no sign. They induced labor, and the wife ended up having a stillbirth. Holy shit. Doctors aren't sure what the cause of it was, and they're saying it might have to do with my wife being diabetic. Both of our families have been deeply saddened after this. The hostility between us has ended. We are having a funeral for our child soon. My wife's brother initially blamed me for the stillbirth because I caused my wife to be depressed because of the divorce, and that's what caused the stillbirth. Hang on here. Her a-hole brother's blaming this dude for the stress that she had, which caused the stillbirth, even though we all heard this, she was down in Miami with some dude's you-know-what in her mouth, or worse. But it's this guy's fault because she's stressed about the divorce? Bullshit. I feel bad for the child. But let's be honest here. Now this guy, he's done with her. And we still don't know if this was his child or not. I do feel bad for the child, but good Lord. He later then recanted his statement, but I can't help but feel personally guilty for the loss. Dude, it's not your fault. Before, I never felt connected to the baby, but now I can't but describe the pain and sadness I feel. I don't know if he was biologically mine, but I still feel like I lost something. Well, obviously there's ways to find out, but maybe he doesn't want to know. I don't know. Wife has requested that I join her for counseling, not for our marriage, and I agreed to join her. We're still following through with our divorce proceedings. Our parents are still staying with us for now to support us. Thank you for the support thus far with Reddit. That is the end of the story. And I hope, in spite of that traumatic situation, this guy follows through with the divorce and he's done with it. I think he will. I just hope that it's not one of those things where, like, they went through this awful thing together with the child being stillborn, which is very sad and terrible. And they decided to give it a second chance or some bullshit like that. Bad idea. You can't trust her. And you saw how her parents treated him, right? The dad calling him a very insulting term, a very derogatory term that is used towards gay dudes. I'm sure you guys can figure that out. And the way the mother was behaving, no, move on. The way she's too young, she's a piece of trash, her friends are a bunch of carousel riders, bad idea. But anyhow, guys, important lessons of this story is this guy, when he found out, he knew something was up, and he was on her. He was on her, and when she was BSing him at first, you all heard it, he kept drilling, and finally, she admitted the truth. Good for him for not backing down. And then he was done. We're done. Kicking to the curb. Good for him. But, married way too young. Her friends are a bunch of carousel riders. Allowing her to go on the girls' weekends when he knew something was up. Because he wanted to be that, a good, supportive husband. Like how back blew up in his face. But even if she didn't do the girls' weekend, it was only a matter of time before she would do something anyway. If it hadn't happened before. Oh, by the way, and I mentioned that she never gave him the extra pleasure down south. But she has no problem because the guy brought her drinks going down south on him. Reminding you, remember, the girls will settle for the nice guy. Eventually. For resources, for emotional support. And because the bad boys aren't going to do that. And the nice guys they settle for never get the special treatment in the sack that they do for the bad boys. It's just how it is. And you guys out there that have been in a situation like that and are honest, you know what I'm talking about. A lot of lessons in this story, but I wish this guy the best. Alright guys, that was it for today. Be sure to comment down below what you think about this. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.